bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. They're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert.
Yeah, I think there's 91 files in here.
Damn.
So they were very much talking about Epstein at all times. Here, we'll click through them real quick. Yeah, so this is the first one. This is the most famous one that everyone talks about, where this was, again, November of 2017, 8 years ago, for all these edgy Democrats, people like, oh, Trump, the Epstein files. He's definitely not a fan. So this is the one that gets mentioned the most. What is a cult? Epstein Island. What is a temple? What occurs in a temple? Worship? Why is the temple on top of a mountain? How many levels might exist below? What is the significance of the colors, design, and symbol above the dome? Why is this relevant? Okay, who are the puppet masters? Earlier, talking about the puppet masters being the House of Saud before it was cleaned out by MBS, Rothschilds, and Soros. So it's interesting that this is all happening as MBS is at the White House.
I threw him out of my club because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton. Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did. Andrew Weissman, I hear. All these guys were friends of his. You don't even talk about those people.
And all of a sudden now Epstein, which was probably, aside from Spygate, something else that is starting to come to fruition with Comey being indicted and charges being suggested to the DOJ for Brennan and others. That's all coming to head. That was probably the most thing talked about in the Q drops, and the second most thing talked about in the Q drops, more than likely, I'd say Jeffrey freaking Epstein, both coming to a head right freaking now. And you could just click through these. You know, why was Epstein? It wasn't just like, hey, look into this guy Epstein. They were dogging on this guy relentlessly. Why is Epstein spending $29 million to bury the tunnels underneath the temple on Epstein Island? Problem, phones were allowed in. These people are stupid. Tunnels, D-Room H, D-Room R, D-Room C, pure evil. So they're talking specific things about the island. And then, okay, look up Ray Chandler. And again, here's Virginia Giuffre with Prince Andrew and Ghislaine. Here is Ray Chandler with Bill Clinton, Epstein's plane. Who is she? Follow her. So then Ray Chandler was linked to lots of celebrities. Again, here's here with Eminem. People were saying that they believe Chandler could be child handler, potentially.
Yes.
These are things from her Instagram that was locked down pretty quick afterwards. Here is one of hers. So they were suggesting that this was the security cameras. And people were looking at this picture right here, saying it looked like very interesting, like something cannibalistic may have been happening. Again, it is hard to tell. How many billionaires own islands? How many billionaires live on islands? Do people travel to them? And so this is like seeding the idea. Again, we're going to talk about a billionaire who was on the island briefly in this episode, Reid Hoffman.
It has been previously reported that Summers maintained a relationship with Epstein for many years, particularly during Summers' term as president of Harvard from 2001 to 2006. So while he was president, he was in this communication. He flew at least 4 times on Epstein's aircraft, according to flight records made public during litigation against Epstein. And he was the top official at Harvard during a time when the university received millions in gifts from Epstein.
Now, I just got a little report, and I put it in my pocket, of all the money that he's given to Democrats. He gave me none, zero, no money to me. But he gave money to Democrats.
Will the rich and powerful influence the court to prevent the unsealing? The tale of two. 1, sex resort, non-temple, resort only, trafficked and drugged underage girls. 2, a cult worship of evil temple. And then you're talking about Haiti. Laura Silsby was Clinton's friend. Bill Clinton stepped in specifically to get her off child trafficking charges when she was caught bringing dozens of children over the Haiti border. And it turned out that they had parents. So they were basically, in effect, stealing these kids.
She was stealing those kids, man.
Well, what they're saying, who took the picture, sex trafficking is real, and linking Jeffrey Epstein related lawsuit. How many girls were waiting for their return to the boat? Who owned the boat? What does a handler procure? Is the handler one of many connected to Epstein? Flight logs remain. Any hidden offer? Hey, these are not the acts of someone who is guilty. This is why a lot of us were pretty comfy with all the Trump Epstein talk. Again, 2019, this is before he's even arrested. All these posts. Epstein Island dungeon beneath the temple, sex and torture rooms.
Yeah.
Okay, more pictures. The Royals are in there somewhere as well. Yep.
Woo!
Again, going back to these, bringing those pictures up.
That's just so messed up.
Two kids in a pentagram. Again, keep digging, Anons. Allison Mack times 1,000. If you guys remember, Allison Mack is who took down the Nexium cult. Here's there's this single picture of Bill Clinton on Epstein's plane where Ray Chandler refute his entire statement. Fake news, disinformation campaign failing. You are the news now. Bill Clinton, the Epstein pig, dude. Basically, they just went on and on and on. Again, Epstein Island, temple, everything. They've just never stopped talking about this freaking guy. Epstein.
You should go and look at the Democrats who received money from Epstein, who spent their time. Larry Summers was with him all the time.
So this is Larry Summers right here. For decades, Larry Summers has demonstrated his attraction to serving the wealthy and well-connected. But his willingness to cozy up to a convicted sex offender demonstrates monumentally bad judgment.
Relevant to today with assets, untouchable, stay back, talking about Mossad assets. Epstein thought so. Puppets and puppet masters. You know, for all the people there, like, he was Mossad. Like, I'm pretty sure they weren't. All right, there's certainly no friend of Epstein. They're no friend of Mossad. Okay, talking about Les Wexner. The story goes much deeper. Les Wexner was with
Victoria's Secret.
Victoria's Secret, right? Remember, Epstein was quoted as saying he helped co-found the Clinton Foundation.
No way.
Possible Epstein was a puppet, not the main persons of interest. Financed by who? What? Entities. Primary, gathered blackmail on elected politicians, dignitaries, royals, Hollywood influencers, Wall Street, and other financial top players, other high-profile industry-specific people, etc. Feed the addiction, controllable. Maxwell family background, Robert Maxwell, intel agency, wealth class. He was tied to the freaking Mossad. Sometimes it's the people in the background that are greater significance. So for all the people who are saying, oh man, I think Trump is trying to hide something, this is why a lot of us were like, I don't think he was. Like, I'm going to go out on a limb and say President Trump is no friend of Jeffrey Epstein or any of these fucking people.